did read in the paper about a problem with algae overgrowth in a lake in Ohio. And that should be a concern in Indiana with manure runoff and pesticide runoff into the lakes. And since the lakes are such a large part of our economy here in Northeast Indiana,
that's true.
Maybe some of the subsidies could be redirected at farmers to help them learn new ways to plant their fields without so much runoff into our lakes.
Yeah, there certainly are growing efforts out there to work out ways to support farmers and to support farming while making sure that chemicals are kept out of our waterways, and often if it's a small ditch, it's a larger waterway and eventually a lake or Lake Erie, where we used to have a lot more problems. So I certainly at the federal, state, and local level there needs to be cooperation in working with farmers. Subsidies can help with regard, the subsidies that farmers do receive can help with that process of growing more crops with fewer chemicals, which I think is a laudable goal for our society in general. You want go ahead first.
Isn't Senator Lugar pretty much in line with some of the things that you've discussed on subsidies?
I think so. I'm always very reluctant to quote the specific views of other individuals without going into a lot of detail about it. But I believe that there's a moderate, rather than the concept of allowing subsidies to grow endlessly versus eliminating subsidies. I firmly believe. And this, you know, the devil's always in the details, but I firmly believe it makes sense to target the subsidies that are out there in specific ways to help, again, family farmers especially, smaller farmers, a young man and woman right now that want to start a farm in Noble County. It's tough to get going on day one. We need to structure the system so that those young couples just going into farming, for instance, have a bit of a break. That's an area where subsidies, in my mind, would make some sense, and perhaps there do need to be some dollar cutoffs or acreage cutoffs with regard to subsidies. Yes.
Well, Sharon, I think you pushed no-till farming quite a bit in southeast Allen County 10, 12 years ago. Did that cost you a lot?
No. I'm in sync with what Purdue recommends. And the Department of Agriculture recommends no-till farming, reduce pesticides.
David.
Tom, there's a lot of concern about the amount of biodiesel and ethanol being used in petroleum products so that we use less foreign oil. What is your standings on the food grade materials being used to make ethanol, biodiesel, and whatever?
Like a lot of other things in life and in governmental policy, I think there has to be some balance. And we need to be careful to. I actually think the federal government should definitely be involved in research to develop maybe new crops, maybe not corn, maybe beyond corn, beyond soy. Switchgrass, a lot of crops out there that can be considered as, I think, may develop into better ethanol or biodiesel producing crops in the future, so that we can help our farmers produce fuel and energy for the country, and not run increasingly into this challenge of fuel competing with food for the use of crops which are grown. More efficient, there's been more efficiency every single year for decades and decades in the farming world. I believe that can also apply to the food versus fuel question. More efficient crops that develop fuel, more efficient crops and farming techniques to develop food without them competing with one another to the point that they will lead to inadequate food supplies or extreme problems with cost. Put it that way. When it comes to cost, we want the farmers to be in the receiving end with regard to good, solid incomes for their work. But I think there is a balance. I'm going to hang out with everybody here and kind of mill around and talk and answer some questions. I can read Matt's mind over here. I'm going to hang out with everybody and appreciate your being here. Appreciate the good questions, the good dialogue. We'll continue the discussion for a while, and I want to strongly emphasize that I having grown up in this area in farm country, farming, the farm community, that's a major portion of our economy. We need to regrow it, rebuild it in this area, and there are a lot of ways we can do it. One of the ways is maintain farm subsidies that are very targeted and very efficiently spent, but maintain that system, especially to help out small family farmers. Thanks very much. Appreciate you being here.